So on the tangent of could have been done but didn't, you want to go into free will versus fate?
Okay, you're going to slice this into segments, I
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, for anybody who wants to explore this further, homework. Robert Schwartz writes a book called Courageous Souls, has been republished under a new publishing company, and it's been changed to Soul's Plan. So regardless of which copy you find, it's the same book, same information, same stuff. If you want to explore the depth of quantum thinking around fate versus choice, that's a place to start. So read the book. Do not try and make sense out of it.
Hang on with this one for a bit.
Simply read. And what you need to hang on to will be there. Don't skip around and go from this to that to back again. Just read through the book and let whatever needs to sink into soul level, it will, and it will come forward when you need it. Another one for people who really want to explore depth of purpose on planet is a book called Remember that Steve Rothwell wrote. And in his introduction, he talks about, let's play a game of hide and seek. Who wants to do this? Which, in my belief system, is the entire basis of why we are on this planet, what we did, what we're here to do, for everybody. We're playing a game of hide and seek to see if you know who you are. And every single person out there has said, I'm trying to find myself. I want to know what's going on for me. What's my purpose? What's my reason for being on the planet? At some point, everybody will get to that point where they're trying to figure out why they're here, and it usually happens when they're looking at their own mortality. Something has happened in their life that they're triggering, whether it's a death of a friend, a family, just a small loss, it doesn't matter, but at some point they're going to say, what's it all for? So here you are, trying to figure out who you are, and then we have this thing that they throw in there saying free will. So certain things in your life feel like they were planned, and it's because they are. You come in with a certain energy that you're going to balance. For some, for a lot right now on the planet, it's abandonment. So you're all alone, you're trying to figure out what it is that you're doing. Why are you here? What am I feeling? Why am I alone? And then you have a parent who reflects to you that you feel alone. And we turn it into, I'm blaming my parent for abandoning me, right? So, and this goes into the whole victimology that we're going to talk about later as well. But we talk about people being mirrors for who we are, and those mirrors are letting us know what we need to experience, what we need to deal with, what's going on in our subconscious. So we have a parent who is abandoning us, or a partner, or a child, or whatever, and we look at them and say, it's your fault. At some point, we have to understand that we chose to come here with this in our life to recognize what it is that we're trying to deal with and trying to balance. Forgiveness. Sometimes I know that I'm about to say something that the whole world's going to look at me and go, who the fuck does she think she is, and what kind of crack is she on? Forgiveness is an illusion. You don't have to do it. You don't have to forgive somebody else for being the person that you asked them to be, and you don't have to forgive yourself. And forgiveness will never ever work if you believe that system unless you do forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being fooled, for being naive might be the word. We ask for people to do certain jobs for us in this script that we're writing of our lives, and at the end of it, when we go back to the other side, it's the big high fives. You played your role so well, I didn't even realize you're my best friend, and yet I thought you were my worst enemy. So we're really good actors in our lives, which is that's all it is. We're playing a game to see if we can figure out what it was we were doing or who we're trying to become. We want to know who we are from every experience, and we will have every experience we feel is necessary to grow, to expand, to blossom, to get out of this thought form that we are nothing more than a simple human. If I took off my human costume, I would have more people running out of the room with their hair on fire than I do now. This is not me. There is no crystal. There is just this entity, this being who has put on the costume of crystal for this length of time that I'm on the planet. I will move into a different costume when it's time for me to come and play with you guys again. But right now, this is the way that people recognize me. This is, you say Reverend Crystal Rose, and a lot of people go, I know her, I've talked to her, whatever. And that's the way that we know who it is. But if I said my real name, which you couldn't even begin to pronounce, then who the hell's that, right? So as we're going through all of this, we come in with the plan that this is the energy that I want to balance, and I have to use free will in order to do it. So the energy that I particularly chose to balance in this world is rejection. And interestingly enough, I'm an artist, I'm an author, I am a spiritual shrink, for lack of a better term. I read tarot cards, and I use the word witch in my title. I am an ordained minister in metaphysical sciences, and yet I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. So I am the antithesis of everything that is a total paradox. If there's two extremes, I'm both of them, and I know that. And I live in that center, and it's very difficult for people around me, and no comments out of the peanut gallery, that to live with, because just when you think, oh, I got it figured out, I know this is what's going to happen, I'm completely different. Right? So it's a constant shift, a constant moving. So when we talk about this energy that we're here to balance, I'm here, am I going to be devastated because I'm rejected? I was rejected by my parents' religion when I was 13 years old and told them I knew something that I shouldn't have known. I grew up with the belief system that any divination, any talking to angels, any of this was from the devil himself. And yet I said, you need to get this woman sitting down. Something happened to her son, and within moments the cops showed up to say your son was in an accident. What I saw was, if she wasn't sitting down, she was the one who actually had the bigger problem, because she fell and hit her head on a rock when she had the shock, right? So we avoided that. From that day forward, I was rejected by everybody I'd ever met on the planet, because I was now Satan. So that was my initial experience with being rejected. And then there's boyfriends, there's multiple husbands, all of that stuff where it's like, no, this is too weird, we don't want this in our life. So I start to sell my art, and people come along, and it's like, this is my soul on a piece of paper. They either love it or hate it, but what's it got to do with them? With me? Nothing. I write words, I talk about weird things, people love it or hate it, but it's got nothing to do with me. But if I owned their rejection of me, there'd be no balance. There would be a cycle of doing this over and over and over again, until I understood that it's not me they're rejecting. It's the idea of stretching themselves, that they're saying no. So in my particular situation, I've managed to be separate from other people's journey, right? But for many, it doesn't happen that way. I have been married to an alcoholic, abusive husband who, at that time, I got to meet a lot of people who were going through transition homes, etc. And what I noticed is a pattern of, I've done it here and now I'm doing it over here. I haven't learned or stretched past that point of releasing the energy. I'm repeating the same pattern over and over again, with the name being different. Make sense? So anytime you're in a situation where I want to get away from it, I want to separate it, decide whether or not you're actually living in an energy and the fate that you decided to have versus the free will you're going to have as to when this cycle ends. Because it's not about if, It's about when. So when we talk about free will, we're saying, when am I going to change the energy that I came into the planet to live, to learn? When am I going to change that balance? When you're able to release the balance, release the energy, then you heal karma. Karma is the energy that we come in with to work with. And it's not about what you did do, it's about what you missed out on. So for me, if I rejected somebody in a past life, and I quite likely have, knowing me, who I am, in this life, I am going to experience what rejection feels like because I missed out on that. It's not about what I did and I'm paying it back. It's about what I want to experience that I don't know, right? So if I wanted to continue in that and continue to feel it, then every time I'm rejected, I would go through the whole victim thing and what happened, poor me, blah, blah, blah. Or my free will gives me the ability to say, it's done. I don't need to experience this anymore. So when that happens, I really couldn't tell you. But I know that it's not there. There's no attachment to that outcome.